everyday life, people are constantly getting afraid. Things are moving faster, technology is moving faster, but society isn't. We found it out to be this problem that is hindering people from moving forward. That problem is fear. But is fear always a problem? In quotes, is fear always a problem? Is it always an issue in society? Let me tell you a story I once heard. In the land of gold, geese, and gorillas, there lived a wicked, but it was a prestigious king, but it was wicked in the people's perspective. Why? He had a daughter whom he would rather keep as trophy than allow get married to a man she chooses. Even at that, the king devised a plan to deceive the people into really thinking that he would give his daughter out into marriage. The plan was simple. Any man who could swim in his haunted pool of 100 crocodiles would be allowed to make a marriage proposal to the king's daughter, and number one, be named the bravest man in that kingdom, and number two, become heir to the throne. There have been several yearly attempts made by daring men. Sadly, all became lunch to the king's hungry crocodiles. But however, there was a year where everything changed. The competition had just begun. Everyone had gathered to watch to see which man was going to dare this challenge again. Splashes were just heard in the pool of crocodiles. People stood to jeer, that is to discourage, and to cheer, to encourage him. People were like, maybe he's going to be the one to do this year. Others were, it's not possible. It's 100 crocodiles. But he kept on swimming with enthusiasm till he came out on the other side. Everyone then gathered on the other side to applaud the young man's achievement. He had done what had not been done for over 5 years. Many people have been trying. He's the only one that achieved it. Even the king was eager to know what made this man so different compared to other men who were either too afraid to even step into the pool, or those who died trying. They're still catching his breath and still overwhelmed of what he just achieved. The man slowly began to ask the question. And he said, who pushed me into the pool of 100 crocodiles? Meaning that feat, that achievement was not of his own will. Someone pushed him into the pool. But it didn't matter who pushed him or why they did it. Though I do not encourage pushing people into dangerous pools, but it didn't matter who did it or why they did it. All that matters is that his fear drove him to overcome that challenge. His fear gave him that advantage to do what others couldn't do in over a period of 5 years. He was the only one to achieve it. His want for survivors made him dodge those crocodiles and came out on the other side. He met the winner. So fear isn't always a problem. In fact, you can mobilize it and use it to your advantage. But however, fear is like a coin. There are two sides to it. What is fear? A threat stimulus, such as sighting a predator, like a lion, a bear, a snake. Once you sight that, there is a part of the brain called the amygdala. It is a part of the brain that is in charge of controlling emotions. It triggers a fear response in the amygdala. It also releases stress hormones and the sympathetic nervous system that is neurologically called fear. Now, there are two categories of people and how they see fear. Number one category of people see fear as F-E-A-R. Forget everything and run. They see fear as something they can never face. They don't have the courage to face their fear, as it is commonly said. They don't face their fear. Once they sight their situation, they take to their heels. They begin to run. When they sight their fear, they run. But the other group of people, they see fear as F-E-A-R. False evidence appearing real. They see fear as a mirage. Once you approach a mirage, it dematerializes. Because in the first place, it's just light photons traveling through different temperatures of wind. It was never there. When you approach it, it ceases to exist. Same thing they see with fear. Once you approach your fear, it dematerializes. When you're called to do something in public, you begin to do it. That fear dematerializes. That's how you solve fear. You approach your fear. You face that fear. They never succumb to the thought they will ever lose this neurological battle of fear. Why? Fear is potent. Let me give you another illustration to buttress on the potency of fear. There was a city guard, and while he was guarding the city, death appeared to him. D-E-A-T-H. Death appeared to him. And death said he was coming to his city to kill 10 people. He then went into the city and began to tell everybody what he had heard from death. As usual, everybody began to panic. There was no one left out from panicking. As of the next day, 100 people had died. Then death appeared for another announcement. But before he could even speak, the man spoke back and said, "You said you were going to kill 10 people. As of this evening, 100 people had died," blaming death for what had happened to the remaining 90. But death denied the death of the remaining 90. Said, "No, I didn't kill the remaining 90. Fear killed the remaining 90. That panic could have made people to make irrational decisions, like jumping over bridges or any other thing that could have easily ended their lives. Other people with tender hearts and tender brains could have gotten situations like heart attack, high blood pressure, which could have also easily killed them. So yes, after all, fear is a problem. There are 5 steps to effectively stopping fear, to stop it once and for all. Number 1, identification. An anonymous fear is a dangerous fear. In fact, the anonymous concept in fear is what gives it the ability to kill potential. You must find out the name of that fear. You must find out the roots of that fear. Make sure nothing about that fear stays hidden to you. Otherwise, that fear will grow. Number 2, reframe your mindset. Once you have identified your fear, you must then either think of overcoming the fear or using it to your advantage. Never, ever, ever succumb to the thought you will ever lose this battle of fear. Number 3, take pragmatic steps. For someone who has, say, arachnophobia, that's the irrational fear of spiders or other arachnids like scorpions and ticks. One may start by cleaning cobwebs or killing dangerous, poisonous scorpions or spiders in steps to solve that fear. Take small steps. Don't just sit down and expect your fear will miraculously disappear. You must take steps towards it. Number 4, filter your channels. How did fear get there in the first place? Your environment. What you see, what you hear, influences whether you demonstrate courage and fearlessness or whether you demonstrate fear. One who watches positive content, good news, that person will demonstrate courage and fearlessness. But as for one who watches negative content, fear would silently creep into the mind of such person. Number 5, cultivate peace and serenity. That's also part of filter your channels. Make sure your environment is not full of anything that could easily make you uncomfortable. Uncomfortability is where fear arises from. It starts that you don't like being around it, then you get afraid of it. So make sure nothing around you makes you feel uncomfortable. Encourage yourself. Make sure that your environment is full of peace and serenity. In closing, let me leave you with the wise contemplations of Reinhold Niebuhr. Oh God, give us courage to change what must be altered, serenity to accept what cannot be helped, and insight to know the one from the other. Thank you.